Persuasion, an attempt to change another person's beliefs, values, attitudes, or actions.
Okay.
And this persuasion is why this course is required, because this is how we get along with people, and this is how we change things. Every time you disagree with somebody, you make a choice. Your choice is either to go along with it, which in some cases is fine, or to argue about it. Okay? Now, an argument is not a bad thing. Right? An argument is a good thing. When you think about, most people think about arguing, they're really talking about quarreling. I don't know if it's one L or two L's in quarreling, to tell you the truth. Quarreling is different. And I'm going to dip a little bit for a moment into interpersonal communication, because I think this is a life hack that's worth knowing. When you quarrel with somebody, there is no clash. You want clash. No clash means you're not arguing about the same thing. You're going past each other in some weird way. It usually ends up in yelling. And if you'll think about it for a moment, think about the last time you got into a yelling fight with somebody, or you heard two people yelling at each other. If you think about it, they probably weren't talking about exactly the same thing. They were talking about two different things. The dynamic of a quarrel is interesting. I'm going to use a very heterosexist example here. But guy says to girlfriend, "Hey babe, I'm going to go play poker with the guys on Friday." And she says, "Hey, we never go anywhere." And he says, "What's up with that? I just said I was going to go play poker with the guys on Friday. What's that got to do with us?" And she says, "All we do is sit here on the sofa and watch Netflix." She said, "I want to get out sometimes. Let's just do something. Get out of here. This is just so old." By this time, they're not talking about the same thing. And he says, "Why are you bringing this up now? I'm just talking about a night of poker." And she says, "You're not listening to me." And he says, "This is nuts." And they start screaming at each other. The dynamic of what's happening here is very interesting. They're not responding to each other at this point. And the sensation is that the other person isn't hearing what you're saying. If somebody literally is not hearing you, what do you do?
Yell so they can hear you.
Exactly. You yell. So she's not responding to what he's saying. He's not responding to what she's saying. The sensation is that you are literally not being heard. So you raise your voice. And you keep raising your voice, hoping the person will hear you. I'm going to tell you how to stop that dynamic. The first moment that voices get raised, stop the conversation. And I mean literally say, stop, 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 stop. I don't think we're talking about the same thing here. That's all you got to say. Take the other person's problem first. He says, okay, so you're talking something about Netflix and getting out? She says, yes. And he says, honey, you know I got no money. I can't take you to nice places. I would if I could, but right now that's not happening. She says, it doesn't need to be a nice place. I just need to get out. Assuming this is before coronavirus. I just need to get out. We can just go for a walk in the park or hang out with friends or go to the beach, something. And he says, you're okay with that? It doesn't have to be dinner and a movie and all that stuff? She says, no, I just get me out of here. And he says, okay, I promise you, once a week, at least, we'll find something to do that's not hanging out here at the house. Now, he says, are you okay with me playing poker with the guys on Friday night? What's she gonna say? I could take it the other way, but solve the other person's problem first. Because you got two things going on in that conversation if you're yelling at each other. And again, think about it for a moment. Think about the last time you were in a yelling match or heard somebody yelling. I can practically guarantee you, you weren't talking about the same thing. But that's not that's not really persuasion. That's just a life hack. Coming back to persuasion. This is how we settle differences. There are other ways of settling differences. Give me another way of getting somebody to change their beliefs, values, attitudes, or actions besides words, besides arguments. That's younger brother and sister to older brother and sister. It's called blackmail or extortion. That's another dynamic that's not persuasion. All right? Somebody mentioned putting a hand on a shoulder, and my mind immediately flashed to role modeling. And that can get people, if you're good at it, if you're a good role model, that can get people to change their behavior, their attitudes, or their actions. There's no doubt about it. I am not a role model. Let's be perfectly clear about this. I know high school teachers all have to be role models. College professors don't, and my life is nothing to emulate, so please, I have screwed up so many times. Don't model yourself after me. It's been a fun life so far. I'm having a great time, but I'm not sure I'm a role model. But yeah, we have other ways of getting people to change their beliefs, values, attitudes, and actions. But of those, unless you are qualified to be a role model, really persuasion is the only ethical choice here. And persuasion, we get persuaded and persuade people all the time. You say Burger King, your friend says McDonald's, you're going to have an argument. It's not a bad thing. It's just that you're going to have to work out what's happening for lunch or dinner now. There's a difference between the two of you, and you got to negotiate it. Okay? Welcome to persuasion. It can be that small a thing, and often is. And you persuade people, and people persuade you, and this happens constantly in life. But the real reason I think this course is required besides settling where we're going to lunch, which is important, of course, I suppose, is, as far as I know, this is the only course you will take in your college career where you can learn, if you want to, how to change the world. Now, how many of you are totally okay with the world the way it is? Everything's fine, everything's going to work out, it's all good. Raise your hands if you think the world is great right now. So the first thing that came to your mind when I asked you that question after COVID-19, I know that's the first thing that comes to everybody's mind these days, but the first thing after that, jot it down real quick, because my guess is that your persuasive speech topic is going to be around that thing. Write this stuff down because, yes, I mean, you're going to have to narrow some of these topics, you're going to have to refine them, and you're going to have to do an audience analysis and all of that, but the general topic is there for you for most of you. And don't lose track of it. Now, when I say change the world, you can change the world in big ways, you can change the world in little ways. But let me give you an example. In your neighborhood, there's a busy intersection. Cars go flying through, there are just a couple of stop signs, people barely stop, and it's a mess, and kids have to cross there to go to school. So kids are crossing this busy intersection, and you go by every day, and you say to yourself, whoa, somebody should do something about that. Some kid's going to get hurt. And every day you say to yourself, this is a mess, man. Why doesn't somebody take care of this? Some kid's going to get hurt. And it happens. And some kid gets hurt. Bad. A neighborhood kid. And the kid's disabled. And the family's up to its eyebrows and beyond in medical bills. And they lose the house. And they move out of the neighborhood. And you have no idea what happens from there. Let's take the story another way. You go by the intersection, you say to yourself, damn, something should happen here. Somebody needs to do something about this. Some kid's going to get hurt. You say to yourself, okay, all right. You write a letter. You have the neighbors sign it. You take it down to the city planning office, and you say, I want stoplights at this intersection. It's bad. City planning will probably say to you, I'm sorry, we can't do that. It's not in the master plan. That's their excuse for everything. It's not in the master plan. So you go to the principal of the school. And you say, we need a crossing guard here. This is a mess. And the principal's a good guy. And he says, yeah, I know. That's on our list. But the budget, we're paying as many as we can right now for crossing guards. We just can't do it. Maybe next year. So you take your letter and you go down to the city streets department and you say, all right, man, give us 2 more stop signs. At least make this a 4-way stop. The street department says, yeah, we can do that. And the 2 stop signs go up, and traffic is under control, and cars are stopping and taking their turns, and it's all working out. And no kid gets hurt. And no kid is disabled. And the family doesn't have the medical bills, and they stay exactly where they are. And you just changed the world. And you'll never know it. That's what you can do with persuasion. You may never know what you've done, but you can change the world. It works. And people sometimes say to me, well, does it really work? Of course it does. There's a whole business based on persuasion. There's a whole field of study. What is it? What's the field of...
Communications,
Nope.
marketing.
Marketing.
Excellent. Marketing.
Marketing is nothing but persuasion. All right, it's all it is. You will learn nothing in marketing that isn't somehow connected to rhetoric. Okay. Rhetoric means the art of persuasion. Just so you know. Oratory is the art of public speaking. And if your mother asks you what you learned in class today, please tell her rhetorical oratory, persuasion through public speaking. I don't have very many big words to throw at you in this class, so go impress somebody with that one. Rhetorical oratory. Also, rhetoric is the name of the first speech textbook. Does anyone know who wrote the rhetoric?
No.
I already told you who
Plato?
wrote. Nope. Close though.
Aristotle?
Socrates.
Aristotle. You got it. I told you, he wrote most of the first textbooks in every subject. He also wrote rhetoric. And we're going to be referring to that textbook a little bit in this lecture. It's still the core book on the subject. Yeah. So yeah, that's rhetoric, and a whole industry is built on it. It also, I hear from people, well, I can't be persuaded. I have my own mind.
Mhm.
Hmm. How many of you have bought something, I don't know, this semester before coronavirus that you really didn't intend to buy, or cost more than you set out to pay? Anybody? Yeah, Rob.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Especially during this coronavirus, I bought a bunch of unnecessary things just because I like getting a package shipped and it's the last thing that like connects you to anything.
So true.
I like tracking a package. I'm like, oh, someone actually is coming for me.
I got a package yesterday that was 6 days late,
Ah.
and it said it was and when it came today, when I saw that it was coming today, and so I told my little brother, "Hey, the package is coming today," and the first thing he said was, "They lie."
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting the cat food in a box. I really am. I'm like,
Yeah.
my roommate, the cat food is coming, man. Okay, but if you bought something you didn't intend to buy, if you paid more for it than you meant to pay, you got persuaded. Okay, somewhere, something along the line, some ad, some salesperson, something said to you, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna bust the budget on this thing." I'm
Yes.
guessing some of you have athletic shoes that cost you more than $100.
Yeah, my track racing spikes.
And you, some of you who own these $100 shoes wouldn't dare do anything athletic with them.
So true.
Uh-huh. They might get messed up.
No,
Like Air Jordans.
I did use them. I ran a mile
Good.
in under 5 minutes with them.
Good.
Yeah,
But I know there are people in this
Yeah.
streetwear.
room who don't
Yeah,
use them because they'll get messed up.
exactly.
I know there are women in this room, don't know which ones, but there are several of us here who have bought shoes that only go with one outfit.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. I got 3 pairs of them. I've carried them cross country with me 3 times looking for another outfit to go with them. Okay, so we got persuaded. It happens all the time. And it works. Persuasion works. It works. The other objection I hear from people about this is, who am I to persuade someone else? Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. I hate that statement.
I just want to add to that too about persuasion, because this is kind of related to what Jermaine does, but I'm very easily persuaded by visuals. So not necessarily what people are saying, but a visual packaging. So I have literally paid double on something because I like the packaging better. Even if the content or the ingredients is exactly the same, I don't even read that. But I can be easily persuaded by color choice, the font choice, the layout, everything. So
Go into advertising. You got an eye for it.
Yeah, that's the same thing as like when you see a menu. When you see a menu,
yeah,
if you see what's in the food, oh yeah, that's cool what's in the food. But if you see a picture of the food, it's more like
yes.
appetizing and appealing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I don't think persuasion always is with words. It could be just visual, and you don't even realize you're getting persuaded at all.
Absolutely.
Because you're just like, you're used to something visually and that's what you want, you know?
Sure. But most of us are not graphic designers. So,
But that's what I'm saying.
I
You might have your own style that you are used to looking at, you know, that you don't even know you're getting persuaded by. Like you're a target market for somebody.
Oh, I'm sure. I know I am.
And the food that they show in those images is not what the food actually looks like. It's like specifically designed to look as appealing as possible. They place the sesame seeds with tweezers.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're way off topic here, folks.
Yeah.
I'm talking about rhetoric in a oral communication class, and suddenly we're off on graphic design and food photography. Let me pull this back a little bit, okay? Just back a little bit. Because what I was trying to say was, a lot of us don't think we are somehow worthy to be changing someone else's beliefs, values, attitudes, or actions. This comes from, I think, a very real place. Most everybody in this room, except me, I don't know about the rest of you for sure, but the fact is that most everybody in this room has been a child longer than you've been an adult. Okay? It's not an insult. That'll be true until you're 36. And that's just real. And we learn over those first 18 years that our opinions don't matter, because they don't. It is the essence of being a kid that your opinion doesn't matter unless some adult allows you to have an opinion and takes it into consideration. You know that, right? That is the essence of being a kid. It doesn't matter what you think. Okay, when I was, 11, 12, I mean, some of you are scratching your heads over this. Every summer, my folks sent me off to Girl Scout camp for 2 weeks. And I loved it. It was my thing. I was totally down with that. And I guess it was the summer before I was 12. We're heading off to Girl Scout camp. I got my little sister is just turned 2, I guess. And as my folks are dropping me off, they said to me, "Oh, by the way, while you're at camp, we're moving."
Jeez. That's weird.
Now, they were only moving about a mile and a half away, But when you're 12, your whole world is your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody you know, everybody you hang with is, in the back alley or running around each other's yards. My best friend was across the street. I mean, my whole universe was in that 2-block area, really. I've never been homesick in my life, but the night they moved, apparently I was really, really homesick. I was so homesick that the counselors called my parents and said, "Come get her." And my parents said no. It took me until my mid-30s, maybe 36, to figure out what that was. I resented my parents until I was in my mid-30s.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, I realized finally, okay, wait, from my parents' point of view, they have a 12-year-old, that horrible age where you hate hanging with your parents, you don't do anything that they say, right? It's everything you can do to be in the same space with them. You want to be out with your friends all the time. My just turned 2-year-old sister was a chronic asthmatic and wheezing constantly. My parents were in the middle of boxing up everything we owned and putting it on a truck to take it who knows where and setting that up. From their point of view, the smartest thing to do was to not put up with me, was to send me off to my regular Girl Scout camp thing and just tell me at the last minute so they didn't have to deal with me getting all and come home and here's your new house and look, you have this really cool bedroom now. But at no point did my parents ever say to me, "Do you want to move?" Even though at 12, that 2-block radius was the most important place in the world to me, and far less important to my parents, who were moving a mile away and could just walk back to the neighborhood or drive back or see people. Their friends weren't contained in a 2-block radius. It's much less disruptive to their lives than it was to mine. My opinion didn't matter. I'm not saying my parents handled it the best way possible, but I did finally go, oh, I see how that happened. I get it now. They got a wheezing baby, an irritating preteen. What can they do about this mess? Well, let's just get the preteen out of here anyway. Maybe mid-30s, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, fine. Forgave my parents. Not that I ever told them that I hated them for that, but you know how you hold little resentments, right? Y'all got stories from your childhood that you're holding on to going, I hate my parents for that. But when you're a kid, your opinion doesn't matter. I will say, on the other hand, now that you're adults, if you think you have a good idea and you don't put it out there, you are ethically wrong. Okay? You're making an ethical mistake. Little kids are responsible for nobody. Bigger kids, teenagers, responsible for themselves. To be an adult means you are responsible for more than yourself, in my mind. Okay? You look out for your family, maybe your neighborhood. Maybe you join the military and protect your country. I don't know. Okay? But your sense of responsibility goes beyond yourself. And that's why I say you're all adults, because I'm pretty sure everybody here, all 11 of you, if you had a family emergency and you had to drop out of school to handle it, you would do that. Okay? To my mind, that's an adult. You say, I'll come back later, but this has to be handled right now. And you do that thing. You sacrifice for beyond yourself. If that's the case, if that's what an adult is, and you have a good idea, and you keep it to yourself, then you are not helping that bigger circle of people you're responsible for. You're depriving them of that good idea. That is ethically wrong. Now, we do that sometimes because we're afraid we're wrong, that our ideas are messed up. Maybe they are. But that's where arguing comes in. You got an idea for the neighborhood, the neighbor tells you that's whack. Have that argument. Maybe your neighbor's right. But at least you're discussing the problem now. And maybe you come up with a better solution to the problem. That's how things get better. They will not get better if you think you have a solution and you don't tell anybody. And let me tell you right now, you are not graded in life. Your neighbors are not going to grade you because your idea was a little off. They'll just go, I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, absolutely. That's an issue. Okay? And I'm glad we solved it. Okay? That's all it is. Okay? Or your family. Or the wider world. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you think you have a good idea, in my mind, you are ethically bound to put it out there. I'm going to go a step further with this. This part's a little hard for me. Nah, I won't go there now. But start thinking about ways you can change the world with these persuasive speeches. Looks like you'll have 11 other people at least who'll be listening to it. Changing 11 other people's minds matters in the world. That makes a difference.
Especially when you don't want to work a shift and you need someone to cover for you. You need to persuade them.
Sure. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, yes, that's an argument, and you've got to persuade them to cover your shift. And the best way to do that, I can tell you right now, is not to whine about your needs, but as I've said in this whole class, focus on their needs. Okay, find the person who's been complaining they don't have enough money, offer them your shift. If better still, you owe somebody or somebody owes you a shift, don't go in and say, you owe me. Go in and say, hey, let's square this up. Okay? I covered for you. We can make this balance now. You cover for me. And it's not accusatory that way. It's not you owe me. It's let's hit that balance. Let's restore the balance. So